Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vigno Pashantaye Apara Karuna Sindhum Jnanadam Shantarupinam Sri Chandrasekharendra Pranamami Mudanvaham. Hindu Dharma Part 3, The Vedic Religion and Varna Dharma, Chapter 9, Is cutting off the head a cure for headache? Today, everybody, from the top leader down to the man in the street, is asking why should there be a caste? With a little thinking, you will realize that the division of society into various jatis is for the good of all. It serves in two ways. While on the one hand it contributes to the progress of the entire community, on the other it helps each individual to become pure of mind and obtain ultimate liberation. You do not have to accept this view because it comes from me or because it is that of the Shastras. You may think that people like me are Ricarniaries opposed to progress, but consider the opinion of a man whose goal, all will agree, was the advancement of this nation. This man was determined to do away with all differences among the people, eradicate superstition and elevate the backward class to the level of the rest of society. This man was Gandhiji, who extolled the Varna ashrama system and wholeheartedly accepted it. I mention this because I thought, if not anything else, at least the views of Gandhiji would persuade you to accept the fact that Varna system has good features. Gandhiji has written an essay titled My Varnashrama Dharma. In it, he says Varnashrama is a system that has happened on its own. It is natural and inherent in a man's birth. It is a natural law that Hinduism has systemized into a science. This system makes a fourfold division of labor and lays down the duties of each section but not its rights. For any individual to think himself to be superior to others and look down upon others as inferior to himself is against the very spirit of the Hindu culture. In the Varnashrama system, each individual learns to discipline himself and the energies of the society are preserved from being frittered away. I keep fighting against untouchability because I consider it an evil, but I support Varnashrama as healthy for society and believe that it is not the product of a narrow mind. This arrangement gives the laborer the same status as it does a great thinker. Gandhiji supported Varnashrama with greater ardor than Sanatanis. It would be pointed out that Gandhiji's actions were such as to suggest that he was opposed to differences in society based on rights and customs. He supported even intercaste marriage. How is it all to be reconciled with the fact that he upheld Varnashrama? Gandhiji thought that though Varna Dharma was a worthy system, it has broken down and it was not possible to revive it. What was the use of keeping the remains after the essence has been extracted from a thing, he asked. So he thought that retaining the outward differences in society was not justified after the principles on which these differences were founded were no longer in force. I do not think like him. Varnashrama is the backbone of our religion. If it is to be abandoned on the pretext that it is beyond repair, we do not require either a Mahatma or a man to preside over it. For any individual to run an institution labeling himself as its head, that is, as the head of any matha, after the root of all dharma is gone, is tantamount to exploiting society. If the old system of caste is in really extinct, there is no need for a matha and it should be abandoned. It should be disbanded. But I nurse the belief that such a thing has not happened yet. Nor do I think that caste will before long inevitably cease to exist. I am also confident that if we are awake to the problem at least now and mobilize all our strength and resources to take the necessary steps, we shall be able to impart the Varna system new life and rigor. No matter how the Varna system has become muddled with references to other vocations, Vedic learning, which is the lifebirth of all occupations, still survives in the Patashalas here and there. In these schools, the scriptures are taught strictly in the traditional way. There is enthusiastic support for the efforts taken to spread Vedic learning. Students join the Patashalas in fairly large numbers. There is a small group committed to the cause of Vedic tradition and to its continuance. My duty is the creation of more and more such groups and to work for their growth. If Vedic learning flourishes, a way will open up to counteract the evil consequences of the muddle created in the other Varnas. And if Brahmins become an example and a guide, if not all of them, at least a few, by remaining true to their old way of life, others will return to their hereditary duties. Since Gandhiji believed that Varnashrama Dharma could neither be mended nor revived in its true form, he wanted it to be totally scrapped. I think otherwise. Though the flame of Varna Dharma has become dim, it is not totally extinguished, and I feel that there are some sparks still left which could be fanned into a bright flame again. We must learn the lesson from our history during the past 50 years that our society will have to pay dearly if it gives up Varna Dharma. You will learn this lesson from the fate suffered by the great civilizations that flourished in the rest of the world where such a system did not obtain. The disintegration of the old system of hereditary vocations must be attributed to the introduction of machinery and the establishment of big factories. There is not much scope for machines in a simple life. The old Varna system could be saved if people live a simple life and are occupied with the old handicrafts and cottage industries. Gandhiji spoke untiringly of his ideal that all work must be done by human power. He was against monstrous machines and urged people to live a simple life, eschewing all luxury. In this respect, his views are in conformity with the ideals of Varna Dharma. Today, the various schemes introduced by the government, together with the changed outlook of the people, mitigate against the ideal of a simple life and the system of handicrafts. But ironically enough, politicians and others keep singing the praises of Gandhiji unceasingly without translating his ideas into action. Gandhiji was a reformer who ardently wished the good of society and worked in the cause of egalitarianism. He saw not a hard-nosed He was not a hard-nosed Sanatanist who tentaciously clung to the canonical text merely because they were old. People had faith in him, faith in one like him. I thought that the views of such a man on Varnashrama should make a deep impression on you. Why are people generally opposed to caste? Because they believe that caste is responsible for the differences and disparities in societies and quarrels arising from them. I have told you so often that in reality no jati is inferior to other or superior to it. However, critics of Varna Dharma argue that whether or not in reality it has caused differences in society, an impression has gained ground that it has. As you can see for yourself, they add, there are quarrels arising out of them. We want to do away with the system of jatis because we do not want these fights to go on indefinitely and divide society. To speak thus, however, is to suggest that we must cut off the head to cure a headache. If the old dharma suffers from a headache in the form of quarrels in society, it is our duty to restore it to health. How? We must speak to the people concerned about the true principles of Varna Dharma in a friendly and peaceful manner, and yet persistently, and remove the misunderstandings from their mind. The misunderstandings that cause quarrels. This is the mode of treatment to keep the old system of Varna healthy. It is preposterous to suggest that because of the disputes, the Dharma, that is the root and source of our society, should itself be done away with. If there is something that is the cause of a dispute, it does not stand to reason to destroy this something itself. We cannot conduct the affairs of the world in this manner. There will naturally be people for and against any question. Such differences are inevitable. Today, there are two issues which have been the cause of a great deal of conflict. These are language and ideology. It would be absurd to argue that we want neither any language nor any ideology because they are the cause of conflict. Nowhere else in the world today do we witness the sort of clashes that we face in our own country on the question of language. The caste quarrels are not of the same scale as these. The frenzy aroused by language is so intense. The Tamil and Telugu keep quarreling with each other. So too the Bengali and the Bihari, the Kannadiga and the Maharashtrian. Then there is the English versus Hindi controversy. People indeed come to blows on the language issue. How would you solve this problem? Would you suggest universal dumbness as a solution? That is the abolition of all speech, all tongues? Disputes concerning political ideology about the type of government wanted are far too numerous. There is the big divide between communism and capitalism. It has been the cause of trouble throughout the world. Without any world war actually breaking out, thousands of people have perished in the clash of ideologies. Apart from the struggle between capitalism and communalism, you see other kinds of unrest in various parts of the world. Monarchy giving way to republicanism, the rise of dictatorial governments, large number of people became victims in these ideological wars. Although everybody claims that he is for democracy, at heart there are so many differences between one man and another on the question of political ideology, and hence all the quarrels. Would it be right to argue that all ideologies must be scrapped merely because they lead to quarrels? Any government is constituted on some ideology basis or other, is it not? No ideology would mean no government. Is it not so? Are we then to abolish the institution of governments and be like animals in the absence of an authority to enforce law and order? If languages are not wanted because they lead to ideological wars, it follows logically that religions and jatis also are not wanted, since they too create disputes. Going a step further, we may ask, is it not because we human beings exist that we keep quarreling among ourselves? So should we? The Paramacharya just smiles without completing the sentence. Though there is a vociferous campaign carried on against caste, jati crops up as a crucial factor in elections. It is on the basis of caste that all parties conduct their electioneering. The cry, "we don't want any jati," seems really to mean we don't want a particular jati. Maintaining the system of jatis on a nominal basis is not justified if each of the jatis does not have a special social responsibility to discharge. To assign a vocation to each group or jati on a hereditary basis is for the good of all society. It is particularly important that this country has a section of people whose lifetime work is to keep chanting the Vedas. The Vedas, which bring happiness to all living creatures through the loftiness of their sound and the profundity of the truths contained in them. Performance of the rites that form part of the Vedic tradition is as much a duty of this section as that of learning the mantras. Moderists think that it is the Varna system that is responsible for quarrels in our society over questions of high and low among the various jatis. On the contrary, I think it is precisely for the purpose of ridding society of feelings of differences in status that we need the caste system. If we are born in this jati, well, it is the will of Ishvara. Our vocation has also been handed down to us in the same manner. Let us stick to it and do good to society as best we can. If somebody else finds that he has some other vocation, it is also according to the will of Ishvara. Let each one of us do the work allotted to us in the spirit of dedication to Ishvara. End quote. If such an attitude develops, there will be no room to think or feel that one kind of work is better than other kind of work or worse. We must try to cultivate this outlook and inculcate it in everybody. We must set an example through our own life. There is no better way of making people understand the true spirit of the system of jatis. Then even our oral propaganda will not be necessary. It is the ill will in society. It is because the concept of Varna Dharma is not properly understood. We must resolve right now to practice this Dharma in its true spirit, so that there will be no cause for society to be given to bitterness. With the decay of Jati Dharma, livelihood has become a major problem for everybody. The obsession with money is a natural consequence of this worry. Until 70 or 75 years ago, nobody had any problem with his means of sustenance. The worry or concern that was about one's duty. If obtaining the means of livelihood were the only goal of life, the less well off would be jealous of those who are affluent and occupy high places in society. It would also lead to misunderstandings and quarrels. If each man is concerned only about his duty and about doing it well, questions of status will not arise. But if money and status are objectives, it will naturally mean that the man who has more money or occupies a higher place is superior to the man who is less prosperous and occupies a lower position. The point in such differences do not exist in true Varna system. Even if the social order of jatis were abolished and together with its quarrel among the various communities come to an end, society would have to face another problem, that is class conflict. We see this phenomenon all over the world today. Our society must be one in which there are no differences of high and low. All will live in harmony as the children of Ishvara without fighting among themselves. They will live as a united family, helping one another and spreading a sense of peace and happiness everywhere. I ask you to follow the old Dharma so that we may achieve such an ideal society. If we take step now towards such a goal, Ishvara will give us a helping hand for us to go further ahead. I keep praying to him. Hari Om Tat Sat.